Hey guys, Malkuth 1974, another episode of International Civilian Space Program. You make 'em, I fly 'em. Actually, we have a vessel this time from a, I actually asked for it, he didn't actually contribute to it, I asked him if I can use it. But anyway, right now, all I'm doing right now is landing, the old lander from the Moonshine 5 from the first video back on the planet after I took it off. At this point, it's a planned backup lander in case or emergency lander, and I'm just trying to get it down there. Nothing really major happened on this. Figured I'd just update this that we moved the lander back to the ground and added Bill to the supply situation on the ground. If you look up at the upper left hand corner, you can see I do have the supply stuff actually written down now with the days. We're gonna have an issue with the test craft that's in space first. It looks like it only has about a month's worth of supplies, and the moon should be lasting about 5 months or so, and we'll be all set there. So anyway, the spacecraft we are using today is from Colonel Panic, and as always I will put the link to his vessel down there. Now I don't know how to pronounce the first name of this, but I believe it's Igaluk, Reusable Service Lander and Rover. And believe it or not, I actually tried to do my homework and look up how to pronounce that word, but it did not work out too well, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a second. But anyway, this is a lander, and it has a rover on top, so that was one of the things I did need on the moon. So this thing will be heading to the moon, and we will be putting that up. Anybody's wondering what that word stands for? I guess it's a Newt mythology, Agulak. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've looked everywhere. There's no pronunciation for it, so I have no idea how to pronounce it correctly. But basically, it's a moon god from old Indian or Inuit mythology. So I won't get into the whole thing of it, but if you want to look it up, that's how you can look it up. So just put that out there. Let's get back into this. So another mod that I have added to this game is the Kerbal attachment system, and that's what I did right there. I added the attachment system and a couple of add-ons for I can actually convert fuel and add fuel to other ships. Another thing I did is I took one Kerbal out of this. It's usually 2, but I don't want too many Kerbals on the moon, so we'll get him out of there, and then we just launch it and get this thing into space. Now when you do get this into space, you have to actually take the rover, separate it, and flip it around and put it on the back end, for it's not on the front like that. There is a docking port on the back end of this. This is a kind of I was very surprised when I launched this and the nuke engines went off. It's how he had it staged, so I just kept it that way. It actually gets it up into space pretty cool. He's got the transfer for, if you guys look up there on the top, it's hard to see now because I do have this sped up, but basically the orange tank transfers into the nuclear engines also, so you're not actually using any fuel from the top stage. It's all coming from the orange stages. And I get this up quite a bit, and we're going to circleize it and get things moving. So this did fill the criteria of what I needed for a vessel. It's not only a lander, but it's also has a rover attached to it, which is pretty awesome. There was a misunderstanding. I thought this it could go from Kerbin to the moon, land, and come back to Kerbin, but it doesn't have enough delta V. You could probably do it if you were a little bit more conservative on the fuel, but since this is my first time launching it, I wasn't all that conservative. The great thing about the orange tank is that it does have a pod on it, so you can deorbit it. So that's why I took it with me and circularized it. And I also have plenty of fuel left in it. I'm like, whoa now. And I'm thinking to myself, I really don't want to lose this fuel since we did pay for it. So for right now, the orange tanks are going to stay in space, and we are going to get the fuel out of it somehow at a later mission and use the fuel somewhere. It doesn't have any docking ports, but that's what the Kerbal attachment system is for, so we can always go that direction to get that out of there. I'm still thinking about if I'm going to deorbit this or not, but basically there's about 589 liters of fuel still in that tank, and that is quite a lot. That's a spaceship worth of fuel, basically, so I am not going to lose that. We'll come back to that at another time. Just remember where that is. So at this point, I'm just going to undock from the rover and flip this thing over and actually see that the docking port's on the back. So I'm going to flip this over. Try to set it up correctly here. Get a good little thing going. Come on, baby. It does. I did open the antenna on this, and the little thing. It's not really needed, but you know, it's a visual thing. These vessels actually wouldn't need to communicate with Kerbal Space Command, or in our case, the civilian space program. But of course, we know we have that whole line of sight situation going, where we actually do not have enough communication satellites up to actually make a coverage of the planet while our vessels are on the moon. It's just one of those you just have to believe it works type things. But in reality, things on the moon would actually not work communication wise. There'd be blackouts and stuff like that, because the only time you'd actually be able to communicate with the moon is when it was exactly lined up to the correct position, because we don't have actual communication satellites in space. We have that one that we launched a long time ago, but that was civilian, so not a big deal. So we got this all hooked up. Now we're going to do our burn to the moon. Now I'm looking at the fuel. I'm like, wow, it's got a lot of fuel in it. This might actually work out. Then I was thinking of the 4 nuclear engines on it, and like, you know, that gives you a lot of ISP to give you your thrust ratio to do quick burns, but it's also basically just burning up a lot of the fuel that's in there. And this thing doesn't really hold all that much fuel, so this is where I started becoming concerned. And there's our window to go to the moon. Opened it up, and we're on our way. As you can tell, it does go quite fast. Of course, I do have the video sped up as usual. I think this is about half. I cut this particular segment in half again, so we are actually getting there. It's moving quite quick. And we got our hit right there. I'm looking, we do need to fix the incline of this a little bit, which I'm gonna do. I'm trying to do different things to see how I can fix it, but no, we're gonna have to burn it off, so it shouldn't take all that much to actually do. So if you guys want to fix your inclination, do it now. That way you waste less fuel actually doing it. So that's a little tip for you guys. Now I'm going to come in here. I haven't actually looked back at my fuel yet, but to see how much it actually cost me, but I will see in a second. I'm going to line up. Am I going to actually look? That is the question. Trying to get this here without missing it. There we go. Oh, and then I noticed the fuel. I'm like, I'll take a look at that after I actually circularize this orbit. I'm going to fix it a little bit up here, just to get that AP down a little bit. Apophis. There we go. And then I look at the fuel. I'm like, oh, Well, that should actually still be plenty to land. Oh well, we're here, we're landing, it don't matter. And of course, I'm doing a pinpoint landing on this one. As always, I'm trying to land at the base. And I'm not used to this vehicle, I've never landed with it before, so I'm just going by sight again, putting a little clearance here. Trying to do my normal burn where I set up and then I cut it. I asked the author of this how to do this correctly because I did end up using a lot of fuel landing this thing, and he suggested doing how I'm doing it right now. I set it up and I did a burn. He says you should burn until you are on the mark till you land, which I didn't do. I did my basic. I go to 300, let it coast, keep it at 300 for a little bit, let it coast, get it in there a little bit. And I kind of missed it a little bit there. Whoops, a little bit too much of a burn. I'm trying to correct it now. So this is where I actually wasted the fuel. When you miss your burn like that, you are basically in trouble for finding your spot. And I'm kind of letting it go until I get a little bit closer. Of course, this is a Rover, and we could just land anywhere and just drive the Rover there, but I'm concerned about the fuel right now, so I'm thinking I better get this thing closer just in case I have to do some fuel transfers, which means I do want to get to the moon colony as close as I possibly can, because the fuel transfer stuff is actually on this lander, so we'll want to keep this going a little bit. We can see the first moon colony down there. We're at 1.6 kilometers, 1.4. All I'm doing is keeping it straight up and kind of bunny hopping towards it. Of course, this is not a very fuel efficient thing to do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Once I get cathane, doing stuff like this will not be an issue. Oh, and for you guys out there, I do need a cathane miner. So if you somebody wants to design one out there, go ahead. Of course, as always, I have to keep the series moving, and if I don't get a cathane miner in time, I will just make one myself, or I'll look for one and ask for permission. So, Mission 8, Service Lifter and Rover landing on the moon is a success. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm still not happy where I am, so I'm going to get even closer. Anyways, total cost of this vessel with fuel is 170,941 Kerbal Dollars. So it's not a cheap vessel. So see, this is why I didn't have any fuel left. I just kept wasting the fuel, basically. Yeah, that was a complete and utter waste of fuel. I should have stayed where I was. But I did get it close, because I was concerned about the fuel. At this point, I knew I don't have enough to get back into space. So, here we go. Letting the little rover go, clicking to it, and putting the emergency brakes on. And we're going to get Adame out of there and put him on the rover and try this thing out. It's got the little seats on it that were part of the 0.20 patch, so now we have seats on our rovers, which is pretty damn. He looks absolutely ecstatic that he's on this thing. It's a little twitchy though, I've noticed. I'm not sure if I am driving this correctly or not, but I haven't messed with anything, and trying to figure out how to get there. But you know, about 7.3 ms seems about the correct speed for this thing, the max speed. At this point, I am thinking I need to fix this fuel situation. So I'm going to actually use the Kerbal attachment system in here. Actually, right here, I think I'm trying to figure out how to get him off the seat, because I'm not coming up with a right-click menu to get him off the seat, and I think it's a little bit of a bug. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to leave, come back in, and then it's going to work. Yeah, there we go. Leave the seat. Yeah, so, you know, this is an alpha. Kerbal Space Program is an alpha, so it does have a few little annoying bugs that smash you in the head every once in a while. I'm looking around like, yay! Let's get this thing moving. But first, I guess he's gonna go have a sandwich or something in the base, because he's pretty hungry. You know, he just flew halfway across the Kerbal sphere of influence to get here. Here we go. Everybody's in there. We got Adame, Jebediah, and Bill. And that's a third person at the colony. So the colony is at its full potential for supplies. I do have to adjust that up there in the supply thing now. So what I did there is I kind of cut it out, but I actually moved that Mark II supply vessel over. Yeah, so the Mark II supply vessel near the Mooner service lander, where I can get the fuel that is in that supply vessel and transfer it to the Mooner vessel. It's like I said, that rover is kind of glitchy, kind of almost flipped over on me. So we're gonna get Adame over here. I think that's who that is. It's hard to tell. I can't see his name because it's going so quick because I have it going fast. Yeah, so this part is everything I added. All the ladder here and all the Kerbal attachment is stuff that I added to this lander, so it won't get there. This is a portable connector that you can connect to any craft that does not have the regular connector on it. So now this vessel is able to transfer fuel once I get the latch system over here hooked up to it. Now, I didn't think I had enough space here. This connector with the wire on it only has a 50-meter range, so I'm actually gonna run out here, and I figured that's what's gonna happen, so I stopped flying with him just in case it whipped me back. And there it is. That is the farthest it can go. So at this point, I need to move this, and I screw up totally. I'm like, oh no, oh no. It doesn't really matter, but I just basically broke all the stuff. So I noticed that this has a docking port on it, so I'm like, oh, well, I'll just bring this over. We'll carry it over with the rover. We'll try out this docking port thing here. I'm trying to get it lined up. Of course, it's just a little bit too low, and it won't work. So I'm like, I'll put the landing gear up. That should work. And this is where the terrible stuff happens. It starts trying to flip the vehicle over. I'm like, oh no, what the, stop it! No, do not break my rover. But this rover is actually pretty rugged. But I am in one of those new bugs. One of those bugs, again, this is alpha. I am in a forever roll where I cannot get out of it. I can't exit the vehicle. I can't change vehicles. Basically, I don't think I can even end this without actually ending the game, without ending the thing. So at this point, I do have a quick save that is just before I do. I always quick save just in case I get hit with these bugs. The only thing if you just saw there, the only thing I can do is end flight, and we don't want to end flight because there's nothing wrong. So I just hit the quick save. We come back to this, and I'll try this again. And of course, this thing is very, very touchy for some reason. I'm trying to do this little teeny hop, and it's not working. And of course, I'm heading for this poor little Kerbal right here, and I just miss him, and I break it again anyway. Oh jeez, I fall over. Whatever. This is just a supply vessel, so it's not all that important. And I do get it back up. I do save at least one of the solar panels there. So now let's get this thing hooked up and going. There we go, we're plugged up. Now I have to actually figure out how to transfer fuel. And the way the fuel works on this before, it'll take me a few minutes to figure it out, but the way the fuel transfer works is that you need to switch it into docking mode. So basically, the vessel you connected to is now docked, and you can just transfer fuel the normal way like you would anyway. I'm trying to figure out here, I'm like, why isn't this working? But yeah, you have to right click on the winch and set it to for you're in docked mode. And I'll basically figure it out. I'm like, oh, what's all these buttons do? Connector mode. I was like, did I hit it? And I figured it out. There you go. That's what you do. And of course, I'm going to put this in the middle tank, but I'm not going to put a whole lot. Eventually, I do I do get the emergency lander over here. I don't show it in here, but eventually I get the emergency lander over here, and I do the same thing. And I put enough fuel into that lander over there, the reusable lander, to actually get it back into lunar orbit and dock with something that can fill its tanks for us. So that's the gist on that. Once, of course, you get the tanks full on here, you won't have the transfer from Kerbin to worry for you, so you have plenty of fuel to get this on the ground and back up, and probably on the ground again, actually. But yeah, so right now this lander will stay in Kerbin, not Kerbin, but the Moon Sphere of Influence, basically forever. It will be the dedicated lander for getting on and off the moon, and of course I will have to still have a vessel to get from Kerbin to the moon, which is a pretty easy thing to do if I come up with a good system to come up here. So anyway, we got this. I'm just winching in back the line here for we don't leave any messes. I'm worried that it's going to knock out that the solar panel there, but it didn't. It went around it, which was good. So everything's good. That's the update for the civilian space program. I'm coming over here right now to see if I can maybe fix. I really wish they would add repair, but yeah, it's not gonna work. I'm thinking I better open that before I lose the power. And yeah, so it's not really important. So after that mission, our current budget is 137,221. Total mission cost to date with fuel is 967,779. So we've used up almost all of our budget, and the only reason we are in the plus is because we've had some civilian contracts that we have done for a total of 105,000. So as always, guys, this is Malkuth 1974. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this series, please subscribe or comment or rate this video. Helps out the video. It helps out me keep these videos coming at a pretty decent rate. I think I'm doing pretty good here. I'm basically playing this game all the time, so I'm always recording it and always trying to get the videos up for you guys to watch. So thanks for watching, guys. Malkuth 1974 out.